Hey y'all, time for the grown folks vibe. Coco said it's time, y'all, for the grown folks vibe. So come on in. Y'all see my hair? Y'all remember? Y'all see what's going on over here? I'm gonna tell y'all in a minute, as soon as some people get in here, so we can chat it up. I got the candles lit for you all. I got the music playing, honey. So come on in. Tell everybody you know. Text them. We talking about church hurt. At some point or another, somebody has experienced some church hurt. I know y'all have. You don't have to be shy. You don't have to keep it a secret, honey, because I already know what's going on. And we're going to talk about it today, because a lot of times people don't want to address it. They just want to up and leave, up and go, or go to another ministry, transfer. The Lord led me to go to another church. I can't be here anymore. Or they just stopped going to church all the way around. I don't do church anymore. Why? Because they have church hurt. So come on in, tell a friend, call somebody, tell them we are on. Sister Annie Mack, thank you so much for joining. I'm excited to have you. You the first one on the line. I know I'm secure now because you on here. So come on the line, Sister Annie. I'm so glad to see you. Today we're going to be talking about church hurt. Keenan, what is going on? I missed you. That's my little brother, y'all. Keenan like my little brother. Come on in, honey. I need y'all to tag somebody. Today we're going to be talking about church hurt. Nobody wants to talk about church hurt, Sister Annie Mac. They just want to get up and leave the ministry. Go somewhere else. The Lord told me to leave and go somewhere else. When the Lord didn't tell them that, their little feelings is hurt. And so now they just trying to escape it and run and hide. But we're not going to run and hide today. We're going to talk about it. Y'all see my hair? Y'all remember that Beyonce Cadillac Records? I feel like that wig from the Cadillac Records. Honey, it's coronavirus and I don't know what to do with it. But right now, we just holding on. We yet holding on. But we're going to talk about this church hurt today. So y'all come on in, tag somebody. It's only 2 of y'all in here. We got to get some more people. My mama not even up here. Somebody text her mother missionary and tell her to call the mother's board and get on the line, because we are ready to talk about church hurt today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Etta Jane. Yes. At last, we're going to talk about this church hurt, because y'all don't want me to start singing. That is not my ministry for sure. I will get my feelings hurt trying to go up and sing. And the crazy thing about it is, Keenan, I used to be in the choir and I didn't realize. Nobody told me that I couldn't sing until I had to be like in college. Now, I could hold a good tune for kind of a good little while, but if you got off key, I probably would get off key too. But I got to college and was like, wait a minute now. Y'all let me sing in the choir all these years. The Bible said make a joyful noise. So I guess that's what I was doing, was making a joyful noise, honey. Well, it doesn't look like the people want to come in, honey. I guess they're going to be late tonight. So let's go ahead and get started, because we only got 30 minutes. And I want to talk about this church hurt. Keenan said, is that part of your church hurt? Well, not quite. I'm not as sensitive, you know, Keenan, as some other people. So I try not to get in my feelings on stuff like that. Welcome, welcome. Is that Sister Lisa in the house? Welcome. So happy to see you, honey. The people are trickling in. We're going to go ahead and get started. I am Sister Crystal Smith, and welcome to Grown Folks Vibe. We are here every Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. And boy, do I have a topic for you all tonight, honey. We're talking about church hurt. Nobody ever wants to address church hurt, how their feelings got hurt. They all of a sudden just got up and moved to a whole new ministry. And nobody knows why. They just know they don't see them anymore on Sundays. Their little feelings got hurt. So we're going to talk about how to get over it. Get your spirit right. Work through it. Push through it. I'm going to give y'all a couple tips. I'm not the expert, but this is what the Lord gave me to talk to y'all about tonight, honey. So that's what we're going to be talking about. The purpose of Grown Folks Vibe is to be able to have a platform to be able to discuss these real topics that nobody really addresses. They're kind of just glazed over. Nobody really wants to have a real long, intimate conversation about them. So tonight we're going to be talking about some intimate things that go on in the church and why people's feelings get hurt. Maybe your mortgage didn't get paid. You've been a member there for 15 years and you got behind a couple of payments on your mortgage, and the church was like, we're not going to be able to pay your mortgage for you. And you got church hurt, so you decided to up and leave. So we're going to talk about that kind of stuff tonight. It might not be that. It might be something else. I got a couple examples. But what it is exactly, Sister Annie Mac, they pack it up and they take that same church hurt with them to the next place. And then what happens? Because we're all dealing with human beings. Pastor Chester, the barber, is in the house. Good evening and welcome. Thank you so much for joining. We're talking about church hurt tonight, Pastor Chester. Church hurt. You know, when people, little feelings get hurt and they go run off, talking about the Lord told them to go and run off to another ministry. Well, that's what we're talking about tonight. We want to address those things because at some point or another, I think it's fair to say in all seriousness that everyone has experienced some type of church hurt or something that has hurt their feelings. And it may not have escalated to a point where they actually left or thought about leaving, but it doesn't negate the fact that they were hurt or hurt by someone. So let's get into it. If y'all know somebody, please tell them that the Grown Folks Vibe is on, honey. We need everybody in here because everybody has experienced this. And I want to save y'all some time, some hurt, some energy, and all that. So who are the people in the church that actually... Pastor Chester said he's even been there himself. I have too, Pastor Chester. We're going to talk about it tonight because y'all know I try to be transparent and share my little 2 cents and my little information. And I hope that people aren't judging. But this is real stuff. And these are real topics that people deal with. And sometimes I just feel like they need to be addressed from a real genuine place, right? So in church hurt, it may be a pastor that hurt you. And then on the reverse coin of that, you may be a pastor that's been hurt by someone in your membership. Because I think that happens a lot. And people don't tend to recognize that the leadership, the pastors, the ministers, the deacons, they can get hurt just like we can get hurt. Just because they're in the leadership role or leadership position doesn't mean that the members and the sheep are not hurting them or doing things that hurt their feelings as well. So we have to recognize that leadership, our pastors, our bishops, the people that are designated to oversee us and to pour into us, they can get hurt by our actions and the things that we say as well. Maybe it was somebody in a ministry. Maybe you were either running a ministry or they were running a ministry and you all bumped heads or had a moment and didn't agree on something. And then it just went all downhill from there. So what I think we tend to not be able to get past in a lot of places is the fact that there's a communication problem sometimes. And there may be misunderstandings, miscommunications, and people were so quick to get caught up and wrapped up in our feelings. You know, when you get that little lump in your throat and your face start turning red because they made you mad and you're feeling a little some kind of way and you just like, eh! Instead of being able to either calm down and revisit it later or calmly address it in that moment, we get worked up. And then we carry that tension around for so long. And the tension then turns to, well, I don't mess with her like that. That's not how we're supposed to operate in the church. I can't be on that ministry or I can't work with that ministry because so-and-so is up there. And her and I don't get along. Now, how you not getting along with somebody and you are the church and we supposed to be acting Christ-like? Y'all not acting saved right now. Not to say that you have to be phony to somebody, or there may be people in the church that you don't necessarily, that you have to love from a distance. Is that the best way to put it? You love them from a distance. So it doesn't mean that you got to invite them over every Sunday after dinner, but there should not be tension and problems and drama amongst the people in the church when we should be operating in the spirit of love. And love is what? Patient, kind, long-suffering, understanding, forgiving, all that good stuff, right? So who else in the church might hurt us? It may be, like I said, a ministry leader, and the hurt could be direct or indirect. Have you ever been to a church and the pastor is just blasting somebody? Maybe they did something and it was public and they just get up there and publicly embarrass the person, right? So I do believe in correction. I do believe in counseling people. We are the sheep. We're being led, right, by our shepherd. So they should be able to counsel us out of love. We should, if we make mistakes, we should be able to take correction out of love. Am I talking right, y'all? But it shouldn't be anything that just blatantly like belittles and degrades the person in front of everybody. And I've actually been in instances where I've experienced that. Unless God has given him a good word to handle it just like that on the pulpit. I'll leave it at that. So what are some examples of y'all's church hurt? Are y'all willing to share? Because y'all acted like, hey, Ma, you late. I started at 7:30. I was looking for you. I was all alone up here. So I'm glad Sister Annie Mac and Pastor Chester and joined me. You was running late this morning. I know you had to run the food line, so that's probably what happened. I'm going to let you make it this time. Call the mother's board and tell them that the grown folks vibe is on, honey. We talking about church hurt. Have you ever been church hurt? So I can honestly say that church hurt comes in a lot of different reasons. And I'm trying to get to some examples of where church hurt comes in. That y'all post some of y'all church hurt if y'all are willing to share. Make sure y'all drinking y'all water. I'm out, so hopefully my mouth won't get dry. Maybe you were pregnant or had an abortion, and y'all know how the church is, honey. Especially some of these denominations. If you get pregnant, they want to come in and just slay you, right? You come in, you do some things because what you've done is in the public eye. Maybe you got arrested. Maybe you feel like the church is cliquish and that you don't necessarily fit in with everybody else. And you feel hurt because you come to church because that's your social outlet and the things you want to do. And you feel like you're not accepted in the church. I can honestly say I was kind of in that category. So I want y'all to know I was the ugly duckling that grew up to be a swan, honey. And if you don't think you a swan now, nobody else will. So that's why I can say that I am. But I was awkward as a child to myself. I was a little awkward, a little chunky, a little, had a little going on. I didn't have any fashion sense. I wasn't dressed like I had a little sense of my own personal style. I hadn't come into touch with that just yet. So I felt like, the cool people at church, their little clique, I didn't really fit in with them. And then the cool people at school, I definitely didn't fit in with them because, honey, we were wearing them socks with dresses, those dresses below our kneecaps, and no pants and no earrings, and just, honey, looking a hot mess with my eyebrows looking thick. But I said all that to say that I felt a little church hurt because I felt like I didn't necessarily fit into certain groups. Now, I had my friends that I hung around with, and I was fine with that. But a lot of people aren't able to recoup from that. They're not able to bounce back. They're not able to find their own place, and it's hurtful to them. And so they either become extremely introvert or they feel like, you know what, I think the Lord's lead me to another ministry. Sometimes when we don't fit in, God doesn't want us to fit in. We don't fit in because God wants us to stand out in our own way. He wants to set us apart for our own reason. There may be a special calling, a special work, a special something that God has for you. And by you blending in with the crew and hanging with the crew, he can't properly position and use you for what he has assigned for you. Now, it took me 40 years, just like the children of Israel. It took me 40 years of murmuring and complaining to finally come in contact with what my cause and my purpose was. I could have been a lot further along had I not been seeking the approval of the cliques. Pastor Chester, thank you for sharing. He said for him it was the cliques too. Somebody else said, I know what you're talking about. The church can be very cliquish, and behind those cliques, people can get hurt. So please make sure that you're not one of the clickers. If you in the church clicking, honey, please stop, because it's very hurtful. One thing that I enjoyed about the ministry, Healing H2O, our ministry, is that when I went there, I felt extremely welcomed. I felt loved. I felt welcomed. The people were very, will come over and talk to you and try to get to know you. And I felt a sense of welcome. And I've been in places where I felt extremely outcast, especially if it's a bunch of women, because the truth of the matter is women can be catty and haterish, and sometimes it makes it difficult to feel accepted, right? So I don't know if that's your church hurt. Hey, I'm just throwing stuff out here. Y'all throw some stuff out here and be transparent with me, because I know how church hurt feels, to feel awkward and like you don't fit in. They don't want to hardly speak to you. You over there with your $1,000 hat and $2,500 pair of shoes, and You shouted around the whole church, hickamacide, and did a backflip, and you don't even want to speak. But glory to God, that's a whole nother vibe. So here's some examples of some other things that happen that may have caused you to get church hurt. Like I mentioned before, what if you were that person? I've been in this ministry 10 or 15 years, right? 10, 15 years in the ministry, lost my job, can't pay my mortgage, call up the church, bring. Hey, I'm behind a couple, 2, 3, 17 house notes. Can you help me out? For whatever reason, the church is not able to help you out, which the church is not necessarily obligated to help every single member that is behind in their mortgage. So if that's your interpretation of it, let's revisit. But in this particular instance, say the church was not in a position to be able to help you and you got hurt, right? There's a lot of different reasons why people get hurt. And instead of you being able to work through the hurt, you carry the hurt with you, and it eventually makes you want to leave, right? You leave the church, like Sister Annie said, you pack up that hurt and you take the hurt right along with you to the next ministry until somebody does something again that you don't like, and then you say that the Lord and the Spirit was leading you to join another ministry. It changes your attitude. And so either now you're coming to church angry and bitter and nasty acting, or you just don't go to church anymore at all. Now, how many of you all say, you know what? I don't really go to, I don't mess with church like that. I used to go to church all the time. I used to be an avid believer. I used to be this and I used to be that. And now, I don't mess around with church because X, Y, and Z happened. And you're holding that bitterness, you're holding that resentment in your heart. Maybe you feel like you don't know where the tithes and offering is going. Whatever your reason is, you got hurt, and now you're like, I don't need to go to church anymore. Because some of y'all are loving these virtual services. To me, it's just not the same. I need to be up in there and feel the chills running down and get the music, get me all revved up. And it's hard not being able to see and fellowship with you all. And, just like people go out to the club because they want to socialize and they want to get happy and experience this high, I want to experience my church high. I do miss church, okay? But for right now, we're working with what we have to keep everyone safe, right? So, Sister Annie, thank you. She said one of the church hurts is never being noticed or called upon to do anything. They always feel passed over. That is a huge reason why people feel church hurt. I mean, huge. People have gifts and talents and things, that abilities that they're able to do, but they never get honed into. They never get used. Maybe you feel like that ministry uses the same 5 people all the time. Like they're the only people that have gifts and ministries and that can do anything. And then you have somebody over here that's gifted and talented, and half the time they don't even know that the person is capable of doing half the things that they are able to do because they haven't taken the time to find out what it is they do. Or maybe you've expressed your gift and what you're good at and what you feel like your purpose and your calling is, and yet they still choose not to use you. They just say, you know what? We good for right now. And so they continue to use the same people. Well, I just want y'all to know, some of y'all get up and go to a job 5, 6, or 7 days a week where they've hurt your feelings, they've insulted you, they've made you mad, they've done all kinds of things. They've talked about you and your children and everything else. Somebody in that organization, whether it be leadership, one of your peers, co-workers, somebody may have hurt you. But guess what? You're getting up on Monday morning and you're going right back into work, right? Because you want to continue to receive the benefits, right? And the pay associated with that job. It's nothing different from what we need to get from Christ. I need all my benefits associated with being in the kingdom and working in the kingdom, right? And as long as we're dealing with people that are human, as long as we're dealing with this flesh right here, as long as we're dealing with people that are going to have attitudes and people that are going to carry resentment and don't know how to communicate well, there will be times where we have things that we need to iron out. Now, the good thing about you all being on here today, I have some steps for you all to use to move past this church hurt. Now, I need y'all to keep me right on my time. I got 10 minutes, 9 minutes. We're going to move through these steps right quick. And I appreciate you all being transparent and sharing some of the things that you've gone through, because I personally can relate to some church hurt. And it's not easy to necessarily get over. And it definitely requires a skill set to be able to move forward, right? So let's talk about the steps to move past. Say you had a baby, right? And you feel like that was just blasted, and the way that the pastor had handled it, he just humiliated you, and this happened and that happened, and you're hurt behind how it was happened, right? How it happened, I'm sorry. So how do we move past church hurt? Because you looking at me like, Crystal, it's not as easy as just saying get over it. And it's not. It does take some technique. So the first thing we need to do is learn how to communicate, right? And address the issue with the person one-on-one. So if it was the pastor, if it was a deacon or whomever, being able to be tactful and calm and calculated with how you talk to them. Like, remember, y'all, we still saved. Some of y'all are still cussing Christians. I don't want y'all to be the cussing Christian when y'all go talk to them. I want y'all to be the real Christian and operate in the spirit of love and Christianity like we normally do, right? So go to that person when you've calmed down and let them know, what does the Bible tell us? Because this is not Bible study, y'all. But I want to make sure that I tie this into the word. So y'all don't think that I'm just off in left field somewhere. Tying that into the word. If you have aught against your brother, what? Then you go and you talk to them and you address the issue that you have with them in a calm way. Now, if you can't handle it in a calm way in that moment, because you know if you pop off, they're going to pop off too. Every action is going to get a reaction. So if you come at them and you stressing and stressed out and loud and carrying on and your arms are flaring, then they might rev up too. So we want you to be calm. It may take you a whole Sunday cycle, a week, 2 weeks, or a month. But go back to that person and express to them, hey, sister so-and-so, hey, brother so-and-so, I just wanted to let you know how I was feeling about a certain incident that happened and it really hurt me. Even if it's the pastor, I feel like instead of just being so quick to get up and leave ministries, talking about the Lord told you to leave and go, make sure that the Lord is really telling you that, okay? Make sure that you have a true word and that you're not just in your feelings and just up and leaving, okay? So even if it's your pastor, you should be able to go to your pastor and say, you know, pastor, I was really hurt when X, Y, and Z. And as your leader, as your shepherd, they should be able to sit there and at least receive what you're saying. And you all should be able to have a conversation about the incident that happened. So deacons, pastors, elders, first ladies, trustees, ushers, missionaries, and the people in the parking lot ministry. This is all for you. This is a public service announcement. Please don't think, y'all lean in because I don't want y'all to miss this, that you all are, because we're all human, that you always are operating in the spirit of rightness. Leadership is absolutely entitled to a bad day. You're entitled to have a bad day. You're entitled to have a bad moment. Maybe you said something and you were short or snappy with someone. Maybe you did something that at the time you thought was okay, but the person took it the wrong way. Don't be beyond the point with your title. Hello, somebody. Can I get a title, a hashtag, or hey, public service announcement? Don't be so wrapped up in title that people feel like you're unapproachable. Because if I get hurt and you my shepherd or my leader, I want to be able to respectfully come to you and share with you what I'm feeling in that moment. And I should be able to. And I should be able to take correction, but at the same time, I should also, if this is something that hurt me and is possibly making me consider moving along to another ministry, let's talk about it first. Don't just jump ship, y'all. Some of y'all playing musical churches. The Lord ain't told y'all done been to 17 churches in 6 months saying the Lord just sent me here. I need y'all to quiet yourself. Like my mama says, quiet time. Go find a book and sit down somewhere, right? So being able to communicate with the person that hurt you is vital, okay? Being able to put it out there, and you all may come to a point where you say, you know what, I agree to disagree. When you have events, you all may not be the one that just buddy, but at the same time, you are able to operate in the spirit of love. Thank you, Sister Annie. Spiritual growth. We need that spiritual growth. Some of y'all need to pray and fast for the next 3 months. Because y'all got some nasty attitude. It's this one lady. I ain't gonna call nobody's name because I only tell my personal stuff. Some of y'all are nasty. And I just want y'all to do some travailing and praying and fasting for your own attitudes, right? So if you're the one that's hurting people and they come to you and they try to address their feelings, please be open to listen and hear what they have to say. I learned a lesson a long time ago. Working in corrections has caused me to have somewhat of tough skin. Thanks, Keenan. But sometimes you have to listen to what the person is saying and not necessarily how they say it. Sometimes people just don't know how to say things the most tactful way, but what they're saying is of much needed value, or it's valuable. Okay, so sometimes don't be so concerned about, well, she raised her voice at the end of that and I didn't appreciate that. Don't be overly concerned with how somebody's saying it. Listen to what they're saying and see, is that any value in your life? We're getting down to the end. So if you're in a ministry where, don't be the bad apple. That's the point of this bullet, okay? If you're in a ministry where all you can do is be negative and sow seeds of discord, then we definitely need you to go and do a lock-in and shut-in. We're so glad COVID is here so that you can't. But even with COVID here, you probably on the phone calling, gossiping, and spreading discord. That is not of God, and God is not pleased with that. And you have new people coming in the ministry, and automatically you on the missions department, or you are on the ministry that welcomes them in, and they have to sit there and listen to you complain and gripe and make little sly comments, and you're being an influence on that person. If you're in a ministry that you have to feel like you have to sow negative seeds and discord and problems, you need to do some serious prayer and seek God to see if that's where he wants you. If you're in a ministry where you're feeling like you're not growing, that this ministry has nothing to offer you, you need to not be that negative energy and seek God and say, okay, God, I've been here for 27 years. That's right, Coco. I've been here for 27 years. Hey, I've been here for 27 years. It's the person right outside the window. You know, she's the guard dog. I call her my six-pound gangster. But you need to seek God and find out, Lord, is this where the place that you have for me? Before you go and jump ship and play musical churches, seek God. But if you're going to be a hindrance to that ministry, sweetie, we need you to go ahead and move on. You need to quarantine yourself and your bad attitude and your spirit in the house, honey, and fast and pray. I need to do some fasting. I done gained this corona. It was 15. It's moved up to about 20 pounds now. Y'all pray for me. Just pray for me, because gluttony is a sin. But glory to God. So in closing, I just want to say, I want you all to think about other instances. I gave the example about the job. I gave the example, well, I want to give the example about marriage. When you're in a marriage, it takes two people to work through that marriage, right? It takes two people to be able to make that marriage work. And so if one person in the marriage shuts down, stop talking, and then just moves out and runs away, they're not able to mend that relationship, work on that relationship. You really haven't given the other person the opportunity to try to work through that, right? So we're all human, and sometimes people are going to have bad spirits, bad attitudes, and everybody in the church is not saved. Honey, that's why you take your purse with you when you go to the bathroom, because you don't know who is up in there. Everybody in the church is not saved. So at the end of the day, what does that mean? People's attitudes are going to be off. People's spirits and dispositions are going to be off. And it can cause people to get hurt. Now, I hope that the pastors, deacons, elders, and those in the parking lot ministry are saved and operating in the spirit of Christ. However, even them, on a bad day, everybody's entitled to have a bad day. And it's more important to try to hash it out in a loving way, out of love, because that's how we should be operating in the church, to get the issues resolved. So at the end of the day, I just want to say to those of you who have experienced church hurt, it's not uncommon. A lot of people have gone through it. A lot of people have experienced it, and it's not always the same reason. It's not always the same person. It's not always the pastor that causes church hurt. It could be one of the members, and they just hurt you so bad that you just can't get past it. But I want you all to pray on it. I want you all to make decisions that are spirit-led, and I want you all to make sure that you're communicating. Just like in the workforce, it's important to communicate. If you have a project that you're working on and you can't get through it, can't see eye to eye, it's important to have that clear communication to be able to get on the other side and be in a good place with your coworkers in that instance. So some of y'all that's on these ministries and y'all acting like a hellion, please get saved during the quarantine, okay? Get saved during the quarantine so when we go back in the four walls of the church, we can all get along. Don't let church hurt remove you from the church. Don't let church hurt remove you from your purpose and what God has planned and called you to do. You have a greater calling. And sometimes what the enemy will do will position himself strategically in that person that's in that same ministry as you are, just to get you. You this close to a breakthrough. You're this close to determining what your purpose and what your calling is and acting in that. And here comes Satan position. He's using, this other person is allowing the devil to use them to get you away from where God had you, right? So God has a purpose and calling on our lives. And a lot of times the enemy people will allow the enemy to use them for no good reason. And they will distract you and pull you away. You were just getting ready to go and get your missionary license. And now you're not even going to church anymore. You don't want to be bothered with church. Every time church come on TV, you want to change the channel. You just don't want anything to do with it because that hurt resides so deep inside. But I'm here to tell you that we have to extend grace to people. We have to extend forgiveness to people. And it's so important to operate in the spirit of love. That is my time, y'all. I have enjoyed you all. And I hope that if you have church hurt, let's work through it, y'all. Let's get over it. Let's pray about it. Let's fast about it. Let's ask God to soften our hearts so that we can move forward. And sometimes you just have to be the bigger person and take the high road. I love you all. I hope that you will join us next Thursday at 7:30 for Grown Folks Vibe. And don't forget, every morning for Morning Dew Prayer and Sunday mornings at 9:30 with Bishop Chad Carlton. I love you all. Be blessed.